This is a fuel-injected V8 engine in a 1972 Mercedes, and it has what's called Injectronic fuel injection. You can recognize this by the electrical wires going to the fuel injectors. Now, this system was used from 1970 to 1975 on the 350 and 450 small V8s. And I've done a number of videos on the old Injectronic system. But in this video, I want to share with you two areas that seem to get neglected when I look at these engines, whether it be in person or even pictures from customers sending me images of their engine. And those two things are, number one, fuel hoses, and number two, fuel injector wiring plugs. You do not want to use regular fuel hose on these D-jets. It's just too dangerous. I've seen so many of these leaking using the wrong type of hoses and even the wrong type of clamps. You don't want to use regular clamps. You want to use fuel injector clamps. Now, as far as wiring plugs, if you notice, I haven't completed this job on this engine. And the reason is getting the parts is not real easy. There are varying plugs available. There are rubber boots available, which you have to order specific to an engine or a side of an engine because they have different curves to them. So I finally decided, hey, this is too much hassle trying to source all this stuff. I decided about 2 weeks ago, I'm just going to come up with a kit that has the plugs, the butt connectors. It has what I call silicone boots instead of these old rubber boots. The purpose of my kit is to fix all the problems that you see right here. You have a plug cover that's probably brittle as all get out and is going to break. You may have wiring that's frayed. You certainly don't want these two wires touching. You've got the original rubber boots that have long since deteriorated. So if you don't do something with this, you know, this plug is old and brittle. This is going to have to be carefully cut off. And in my kit, you're going to have a choice. You can either just replace the plug cover with the new white one, or if your wires are bad and your crimps are bad on those connectors internally, you can come back in this area, cut the wires to match, and splice it right in here. And having a silicone boot rather than a rubber boot is going to give you a much longer life. Remember, the reason for the boot is primarily not to keep moisture out. It's to keep heat away from these critical contacts. You get too much heat in there, it's going to build up resistance and can affect the performance of the fuel injector. So in this case, this is the finished product here. We had good wiring, the clips and crimps were okay, so we just had to install a new white cover. You know, I can throw the black and white wires away if I want. And then I used this silicone boot and got it in a position before I plugged the new assembly back into the fuel injector. And you can see here how I've moved this boot over on top of the ridges on this injector. So what's nice about this silicone boot, look at this. There's air inside which will give you better heat deflection over the long term. Because the problem that you see with all these Injectronic fuel injectors is heat. Years and years of engine heat. So would you rather be looking at and dealing with this or with this here?